Here we go. Oh, yay. It's so great to be back with you, Teresa, and to be back with our audience we just had so much fun with that last video.
I know, right?
I think it really spoke to a lot of people because we had a lot of comments and a lot of engagement and so on. And so we're missing Leslie today. We don't know why she's not here, but you know, hopefully she'll be back with us next time. And what we're going to explore, we're continuing the Capricorn Saturn mysteries because it's just such a good topic. And so many, everyone encounters it, no matter whether you have any Capricorn on your chart or not, or whether you have a major Saturn complex on your chart or not. You will have Saturn cycles. You will encounter these energies. And it's helpful to have insights about how to work with them. And so, one of the things we're going to explore a little bit is that in a few days from the time of this recording is Saturn's going to conjunct the sun. So that means anybody who's born at that time, it's going to, and actually even right now has Saturn conjunct the sun, would have Saturn conjunct the sun. You may be one of those. I have Saturn square the sun. So I have a Saturn complex on my chart. And I remember when I heard all of the things described, not feeling good enough, not feeling smart enough, not feeling like you've done enough, not feeling like you have to prove yourself, feeling all these different feelings that Saturn can bring up. I was like, oh my God, that explains my life. And so, but getting to the place where you can see that as a gift, not as a thing that holds you back from really being able to use the skill sets that are available to us when we have a lot of Capricorn or a lot of Saturn on our chart. This is so, so good. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Teresa, because we've been talking about how we're looking at these different skill sets and having the foundation under us to be able to create something that's going to be sustainable, effective, and works for a long time.
Yeah, and I would even extend this out to no matter how often or how infrequently you are engaged or these energies engage you, you're living in a world with a lot of people who are experiencing this. And it might be helpful to understand and see these traits and be curious and have some empathy or compassion for people who may or may not be struggling with some of these issues that we have. Um, I find, you know, I've had a lot of fear around the future, and that's based in I'm not comfortable that I have a big enough uh a solid enough foundation. You know, for me, Capricorn has always served me well in that I've been able to work. I've been able to figure out how to solve problems in my life, as a parent, as a partner, as a coworker. I'm a good problem solver and I recognize patterns. Thank you, Saturn. And can usually deal with them. Now, turning that personally, it makes it's harder. It's easier for me to reflect that out into the world than to look at that myself. And so, we were talking a little bit about what work looks like. And for a Capricorn person, work is it. You want to manage everything well, you want to get things done, you want things to be fair and equitable and work for everybody. The system needs to work. And um, then sometimes some things come and, it's a way, I think Saturn's there to kind of break the patterns of this has been working for so long this way, but it's not now. So what do we do? And so often, I know I've experienced this, I've seen this, and I think we're living this a little bit. The change is so uncomfortable to the system that, and we don't feel like we have a good foundation to step over. It's like floating pads of ice. We're fine over here, but stepping across onto that other one is risky. And this one is cracking behind us and we're probably going to sink, but we're comfortable here. This is the way it's always been. And, and so sometimes it takes something huge to shift all of that energy, so.
I love what you're saying, because I think it's important to have a foundation and to feel safe.
Mhm.
We can, but sometimes we get so attached to that, as you're saying, that then we don't take the risk and go into something new, or we just play it out until it's dead.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that gets boring too. So it's like, okay, I'm comfortable. I figured it out. But now I'd really like to maybe step into some other arena. And there are many, I've listened to people who talk about, well, if you don't really 100% believe you can make that giant leap into something new, don't quit your job. Don't quit what you're doing now that has you safe, but start adding that piece. And if it's your true passion, if it's something you really feel alive and aligned with, and you keep putting a little bit of it into it every day. And literally someone gave me, it was called some creative magic or something like that, and it was these cassette tapes way back in the day, back in the 90s.
What are those, Kaylin?
Yeah. So for those of you who might not know, way old technology. Anyway, and this woman was saying, if you want to like create a business or do something to create a way of having income that's not normal like everybody else is doing, that kind of thing, spend 15 minutes a day on that. She
Mm-hmm.
said, maybe you're just reading about it. Maybe you're, learning something. Maybe you're actually putting something into place. So you're starting to figure out how to put something into place. Just take 15 minutes a day, and within a year or a couple of years, you're going to be ready to leap into whatever it is. And I found that to be true because at the time I was raising 4 children,
Mm-hmm.
young children, and I had to be
Yeah.
all over the place. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I had 4,
Yeah,
or I still have 4, but
yeah, you do. They're all grown now, but I had a calendar and I had them color coded. And so I just write the date, the time that they had to be there on, the date they had to be there, and the color of, so I would know which kid it was that had to be there. Like I was like, I had these are very Capricornian kinds of techniques
Yes.
to use. But I didn't have a lot of time to be investing in creating astrology business. But I just put a little bit of time into it every day. And then before
Mm-hmm.
I knew it, a few years later, I had enough of a business to support myself, and I was astounded. I was like, oh my God, it really works.
Yeah.
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 So it's a very Capricornian, Saturnian, responsible way to do it. Now, again, some people can just take that giant leap and that
Mm-hmm.
and it works for them. But it's not always the case for everybody. So you kind of need to know what's going to work for you and keep a strong foundation or a strong base if you can, as you're getting ready to make a new way of being in the world.
And I think it's really hard nowadays with social media and all the other things that are blaring at us, that it looks so easy, and it can get real frustrating because yours doesn't feel easy, or you're so busy surviving. If you're on, and I've been on survival mode for the last 3.5 years. I think I've touched on that, so I won't go there again. I'm trying to move past it now that Pluto's safely, for a little while anyway, into Aquarius. That it's not easy, and it is attainable, and just to it I get impatient with small steps. So, or I want to start all these things because I also have the Renaissance soul thing going, where I can't choose one thing that I really really like. So today it's this. So balancing all of that, and I think, so one thing technology has brought to us is scheduling. We can all really easily schedule. We can either do it the paper way, like I have kind of reverted back to that, except for work. It means keeping 2 calendars, but I like paper. I like the visual and the tactileness. So, color coding and just blocking that time off. If I block the time off, and you can do it at the beginning of the year, and this is what I'll do. I'll block a certain time off, and I just make it, you can make it a repeating event. And it's just there for posterity, or until I quit using Google. So, but again, I'll emphasize again, I'm really glad that I'm able to laugh about this because it's been really hard. And it is still really hard. And uh and it takes real vulnerability. I mean, we're all talking about that. And that's really being brave, being vulnerable enough to take even that 15 minutes away from what you feel like is your responsibility to whatever your household, your life, your partnership, your future, for retirement or whatever. It can be hard to sacrifice, or it feels like a sacrifice. It really isn't. It's a gift to yourself. Like, who doesn't have 15 minutes a day? And I feel all the judgment around that, but because I know I've shot my own judgment toward people who says, who doesn't have 15 minutes a day?
Oh, wait, maybe I forgot to do that 15 minutes of over the last few days. Oh, darn.
Right. And so when that happens, I get so self-judgmental, I give up. So
Right.
it's how do you find that balance of the motivation and the energy to keep moving, especially when things are challenging? It's hard sometimes to see the horizon when it's really challenging in your life.
You're reminding me of something, and that is that Saturn and Capricorn love having a plan.
Yes.
Have a plan, work the plan. So maybe the
Mm-hmm.
first 15 minutes that you take is you create a plan, or you create part of the plan, and then the next time you create more of the plan, and till you have a plan. And then from there, you can take your 15 minutes and put it towards that plan. Now, something that you're saying, and I can so relate to this, is having too many things I want to be involved in. It's like, okay, now I'm really overextended and wait, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to do that. Oh, I really want to do that. And I really want to do that too. So, so maybe part of the plan is to figure out something you want to commit to and just see
Mm-hmm.
where it goes and give it a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. And if it's not really lighting you up or whatever, and just have everything else just be waiting. Like, okay, I'm going to work on this one now. I'm going to work on this plan now. And if this doesn't come together, then I can, my list. I have my list and I have them in order of how I want to connect with them, something
I
like
have
that.
binders.
There you go. Oh yeah, good.
So that's where you can take advantage of the Saturn piece. If this plan isn't really working right now, you experiment, whether it's just even building the plan, you experiment with that. And if it doesn't look like things are lining up or whatever, then taking a moment to step inside and kind of review, flip through your plans, or maybe it's just doing yoga because you haven't done it in 6 months. I wonder who that might be. um, and getting that stillness, and then you realize, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to change the plan, or like you said, shift to a different one. Maybe it's just not time for this right now. Set it
Yeah.
aside. That's the gift of Saturn, is changing, changing the game, looking at it from a different perspective.
Hence
you know
another reason why it's good to keep your foundation
mhm.
and not necessarily leap into something unless you feel super confident. Because if
Mhm.
you're not feeling confident, your place of where you're not feeling confident can sabotage you.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we've all had that. I mean, I'm imagining we've all had that experience.
Yeah.
We've all had that experience.
Where
So,
you feel a little less than confident about something.
like, who did I think I was that I could really do that?
Yeah, well, there's that dialogue you have with your inner other, the the shadow, whatever, what you want to call him, my co-pilot, our backseat driver is what it feels like more often. And it's like, how can I engage that? I've read this or heard this from different folks in the creative realm. How can I engage that voice? Because they're really there to protect you.
Mhm.
So how can I engage them? What job can I give them to keep them busy? It's like giving your kids the car bingo cards, so you can focus on the mountain drive. It's like
Yes,
um
it's so important to have uh the backup plan, or the way of, it's like, okay, so I'm focusing on this, and oh, and my mind is saying, I don't think so, you can't do that. And that's the monkey mind, as some would call it.
yeah.
And then what you can do is you can say, thank you for sharing, and
Hmm.
I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I understand that you're trying to help me and protect me. I get it. Thank you so much. And I'm still going to do this,
Yeah.
even though it scares
Because
the crap out of
you
me.
know that yeah, that voice can help you at times. you know so most of the time not, but can be pretty
Well,
judgy.
but yeah, I was going through 7 years of Saturn cycles a few years ago, and I decided, and I the voices of judgment were just so strong.
Mm,
And I decided, instead of my inner judge who was judging everything constantly, I said, I'm just going to refer to you as my inner your honor, and honor what it is that you're saying.
mhm.
I'm not necessarily going to act on it, but I will honor that, and I will do what I still feel is right for me. So
Yeah,
it's just maybe sometimes a little bit of a perspective shift.
that's an awesome way to look at that. Yeah, because it's the same as when you're doing work with your inner child or your inner other. It's like they're looking for a place, and all they want to do is help.
Yeah.
So what role can they play, or even they're playing the role, but like you said, how do we make them feel heard? Because
Yeah.
sometimes, how often do we just want to be heard? You know, and so it's the same with your inner dialogue, I think, is acknowledging.
Yes. Yeah, and there's some good points there, and so from some perspective they are true. These points are true. And from
Yeah.
another perspective, maybe they're not as true as they have been. So it's like, oh, can I offer you a different perspective on that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and those voices have an origin story, that could be related to something that doesn't even affect you, but they have that perspective, or something has happened that is causing that point of view. And to be, I guess, just compassionate and open to that. Now, all that said, it sure isn't easy just to, I mean, we can sound all awesome about it, but when it boils down to it, 3 hours ago, all I wanted to do was eat everything in my refrigerator, and gosh darn it, it's all healthy.
Which is a good thing, because then if it wasn't and you started eating the unhealthy stuff, so it's like,
Then you start feeling bad.
yeah, you set yourself up for not being in as a miserable situation as you would have been.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's the plan there,
There's
but
yeah.
um yeah, so I keep hearing this little thing about enjoying the journey, to remember, this, I guess, especially with Saturn, it's all about the experience, the day to day, the in the moment. What are you doing this moment that, is either moving you forward, or adding to your foundation. I can look at my job as that's adding to my foundation. Um, and when I go out to see my horse later, that is adding joy to my day, you know.
Yeah.
So even though part of me, what I'm really feeling progress on, and I think this is common, is it's sometimes you feel like you're just never going to get out of the dumps. You're just never going to be able to cycle out of that. But then when your voice starts saying, hey, maybe you should go see your horse, and you're able to not override that, because sometimes you override that, and I don't really know which voice is what at that point, whether it's your intuition, your inner guidance saying go see your horse, or if that is your inner other saying, hey, you need to spend time with your horse. you know um
Doesn't matter. It's like, it will still have the
yeah.
same, so it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
what it is. And I love that you're saying this, Teresa, because the Saturn Sun conjunction happening at the end of February
Mm-hmm.
is also happening with Mercury. And Mercury is how we perceive, how we communicate, what those voices are that are saying inside our head, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of, and this is all, it's happening in the sign of Pisces, not Capricorn, but it's going to have such a strong Capricorn flavor because Saturn is there and they're so much alike. And I just imagine it as being an opportunity to uh, seed more compassion
Mm-hmm.
in energy, healing energy, compassion, and acceptance of what's going on for us instead of being in that super judgmental place. And
Mm-hmm.
that Mercury is helping with that, as well as the sun. The sun fuel is like energizing all of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are some things we can tune into, and perhaps maybe even uh, have an intention around as we start, as we move forward from this time, and just allow ourselves to be in that place of, more heartfelt love and compassion for who we are and what our challenges are.
Yeah. And I think even adding, because the sun is light, the sun is our fuel, it's the energy, but dancing with Mercury and Saturn, you're also seeing an opportunity that's shining light on the patterns in your life. And are there patterns that aren't working anymore? And then how can you use that Mercury energy, the perception? It may provide clarity on things that you may have been in denial of, or things that are waiting for you to see. Um, I think that there's a whole opportunity here for a shift, or it's the day you start taking that one step, that 15 minutes. You can take that 15 minutes and change your pattern. um, and I love the energy around Pisces and the compassion and empathy and all of that, because cut yourself some slack, man. I mean, it's hard.
I, I mean, we have grown up in a culture that's pretty judgmental, so
Yeah,
it's so easy for us to be in that space because we've been so conditioned for that. So to
yeah.
begin to cultivate something else, having greater compassion and acceptance of who we are and where we are and what's happening at any moment, that is not easy. As you said,
Mhm.
it's not easy. But if we have that intention and we keep coming back to that intention and putting our attention on it, we will eventually shift that old paradigm conditioning.
Yeah, yeah. 15 minutes at a time.
Yes. Yes, beautiful. All right, well, I think we've done a beautiful job here of I'm inspired. I hope everybody else who's watching is inspired. So, any last thoughts, words, anything before we
I am enjoying this journey with you, Kaylin.
so much fun. So much.
So, yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I hope it helps in some way, makes people laugh at least.
Yeah, so bye everybody. We
Bye-bye.
hope you are inspired and are being kinder to yourself as a result.